Hey, greetings internet surfers. It's I, the amazing Flec. If you're new to this channel, I'm currently on break at work during a 16-hour shift. I promised my viewers I would post every single day of the year, and I'm making the most of my time. So here we are right now. Today I'd like to talk to you about money. Yeah, I know I look rich, but I'm actually pretty broke. But that's exactly what I want to get into. The purpose of this video here today is the art of being broke. Now, I've managed to get by most of my life with next to nothing and not making a lot of money at all. And I managed to do that by keeping my expenditures as low as possible from day to day, week to week, and month to month. Now, there's a lot of different people out there, I understand that, and we all have different needs and we all have different circumstances, different amounts of income, different things that we have to take care of and maintain, and some of us have families we have to take care of as well. So I'm well aware that some of these things won't necessarily apply to everyone. I'm sure that we've all heard people say, hey, have you tried doing ... to save money or to make more money? I just want to share with whoever's willing to listen out there my attitudes towards money as of now and how I've managed to actually save more money than I have in my entire life just this past year of 2020. And no, I didn't collect that big fat $600 a week unemployment that most people did that were out of work. I worked the whole entire time with all these unemployment benefits, and I have no regrets doing it either. I love my job. So when it comes to money, a lot of the financial experts out there like to talk about how you want to increase your income and reduce your expenditures. Now that sounds real easy, right? It's almost as if it's ingrained in us to live in a society that we automatically have to go out and try to increase our income all the time, but we're also very much pressured to spend a lot too. So it goes without saying that we all know we need to increase our income one way or the other, but our society also programs us and encourages us to go out and spend everything we get whenever we can. So for the sake of this video, I'd like to focus on different ways that you can save money and cut your spending and still enjoy a good life. I think it's a myth that you have to spend money in order to get things done and to have fun. I think you can have plenty of fun and get plenty of things done without having to shell out your greenbacks unnecessarily. So I've been looking at money more and more as a means of survival and then getting a joy out of not spending the money, which is different than what our society tells us we want to do living in capitalist society to spend all the money you can. I think it's really important to cut your spending so you can pay off all your debt first and foremost, and then so you can save up an emergency fund, and then finally invest that money, or if you're not comfortable investing, just simply grow your savings so you can always see that number increase as time goes on instead of tapering off and decreasing or not even being existent at all. Something I did in my early 20s after I moved out of my parents' house is I added up all of my weekly expenses and my monthly expenses. And my weekly expenses, I times those by 52 because that's how many weeks there are in a year. And for my monthly expenses, I times those by 12 because there's 12 months in the year. And then I took that number and divided it by 365 because I was curious about how much it costed me just to exist for one day in this society. I think at the time it was a really low number. I think it was less than $30 for every single day. But it was very eye-opening. I had no idea how expensive it was just to exist for a day without doing anything. It cost me $30 every single day I wasn't working, and it cost me $30 every single day I was working. So therefore, if I got a job where I only made $25 that day, and I had to drive to and from that job, and then buy a lunch, I'm essentially losing money. So that kind of lit a fire underneath my rear end and got me to think a little differently about how I got to get by in this world. I hope all the viewers back at home try that out too. It really is eye-opening. It can be very stressful at first, I won't lie, but it's something that is worth paying attention to because it's very real and it's something that you need to use to your advantage. That's good knowledge to work with. So don't be intimidated by it. Take it for what it is and move forward with that information and develop a strategy to get through this. So interest can work for you or against you, and the way this system is set up, it works against you a lot more than it works for you. So if you take out loans or credit cards, your interest rates are absolutely ridiculous, or even mortgages. Mortgage rates for now are really low, and that's fantastic, but generally they're pretty high too. They're much higher than the average savings account or a lot of other investments out there. So interest rates generally work against the consumer and the working class people. And it's for reasons. You can make up your own conclusions as to why it's like that. But the point is, it's important to recognize how things actually are and work with that and find a strategy to get through it. So first thing, you gotta pay off those credit cards. I know it's so easy to listen to some dude on the internet walking on a treadmill who doesn't make a lot of money at all. I am not rich. But this past year, I managed to save $15,000 for the first time in my life. I've never had a net worth more than $5,000 or $6,000. And I'm not embarrassed to admit it, I've had a really fun life so far. But now I'm 37 and I gotta start thinking about the long term. I got a 65-year-old Doug in the future I gotta take care of. If you didn't know, my real name's Doug, it's not Flec. And I gotta take care of that guy. So I gotta pull myself up by my bootstraps and stop eating my avocado toast and stop drinking my Starbucks coffee and all that other stuff all those people out there tell us to do in order to get by in this society. So alright, I'm gonna give you 10 suggestions. You probably heard them all before, but I think they're worth mulling over and they're worth working with and putting to use because they do help. I do believe they help. They've helped me a lot, and they've helped me get through this past year by acquiring a joy in saving my money and also finding new and creative ways to entertain myself without having to spend this money. So the first one is to reduce your monthly expenditures however you can possible. Yeah, it sounds easy in theory, and I'm sure a lot of you have already considered this. But if you track how much money you spend every single month on things you use on a regular basis, that really adds up a lot. If you pay $1,200 in rent every single month, and you have an opportunity to move into a place that you only have to pay $1,000 a month for rent, and it might be considerably smaller, you gotta think about that, because 200 times 12, that's $2,400. That's a lot of money. So you could be taking that money and use that to knock off that credit card interest. Or if you don't have a credit card debt, you can use that for a savings account or an emergency fund. But it's not just rent. You've got to think about your monthly subscription costs. There's a lot of streaming services out there that people shell out a lot of cash for. We all have an internet bill. Many of us pay for cable and don't even watch it. Cable's outdated. You don't need that anymore. Why are you paying for news services? It gets shoved in your face all the time anyways. And if there's anything really significant going on in the world, you'll probably know about it. Not to mention a lot of news sources these days are just really bad. They're not even really news. It's all opinion, peppered with little bits of facts that are twisted and distorted and spun to fit a particular political narrative. It's just poison. I don't care if you're on the right or the left. Why are you paying for news? Why are you paying to have people tell you how to think about things? Groceries, recreation, you can find ways to scale back how much you spend on all these things. Especially if you find a way to find joy in not spending the money. I think that's the big thing, is adjusting your attitude. Find a joy in not spending money and find joy and pleasure in taking part in activities that don't cost you any money. I think that's probably the biggest thing I hope people get out of this video. Number 2, find free stuff. There are tons of free things out there. You can go on Craigslist free section, there's a bunch of free crap there. One of my favorite things to do, and I haven't done in a while admittedly, is on garbage days. Go to like the ritzier areas of town where there's nicer houses and just drive around. You'll find some really cool furniture sometimes. And even some other things that you might find useful around your own house. Now, I'm not encouraging you to go out and start hoarding crap that you don't need. If anything, less is more. It's good to just get rid of all those things you don't use. But you never know though. I mean, if you're gonna be walking around or biking around, or if you're gonna be passing through that fancy neighborhood on a garbage day, might as well see what's at the curb. You might find something precious and something useful for you. Number 3, if you do have to spend money, check out your garage sales and your thrift stores. You can find really cool stuff there. There's no shame in getting used things. I don't understand why people want to go out and spend all this money on the newest and greatest brand new cars and fanciest iPhones so they can look like they're rich when they just spent all of their money to have this product or this car that also comes with this crazy inflated insurance costs, just so they can have the illusion of looking like they have money when they're struggling to pay off their debts. Now, I know it's unfair to assume just because someone has fancy things that they're in credit card debt and they're trying to look rich and fancy. They might very well be rich and they can afford those things. But even then, why would you want to look like you have that kind of money walking around? I'd rather look poor and have money than not have money and look rich. I don't know. I don't understand it. I've always driven used cars, old beater vans, dressed in rags for most of my life. I'm fine with it. I'm happy with it. And I understand that a lot of people don't want to look that way, or they have an image they want to uphold, and that's fine too. But consider it, you know, you don't have to spend a bunch of money to look rich either. You can get some nice quality clothing that looks really good. And you can get nicer used cars too. You don't have to go out and get the fanciest new things all the time. They're expensive and they're overrated in my opinion. 4, create, reuse useful items and gifts. You can also repair stuff that goes wrong. I mean, there's plenty of DIY tutorials on the internet and plenty of things you can find out how to make for absolutely free online. And there's something really special about creating something yourself. You put your own time and energy into it, and you can really appreciate that when you go to use that mug Use that blanket if you crochet or knit things. And on top of that, they make wonderful gifts. I've received some gifts from friends that they made themselves, such as a mug and a blanket, and a little comic book made by my buddy Tim TV recently. It was really cool. But the amount of time that someone puts into creating something really shines through. And there's something really special about that when you received a gift that someone made themselves. And if you make a nice gift for someone else, I'm sure they'll appreciate it too, especially if they're close to you or if you have a special bond or kinship with each other. So yeah, you can save a lot of money by doing stuff like that. Number 5, this one was huge for me. You gotta stop doing your impulse spending and your sadness shopping. When you go out and you spend money because you're sad and it makes you happy just for a little while, but then when you go home and the next day you look at the thing you just bought and it really doesn't bring you joy. It did when you held it in the store for a little while. Then you look at your bank account statement or your credit card statement and it just makes you feel worse. See, as I said earlier, I think it's a straight up myth that you have to spend money in order to feel good or be happy. You know, you can get a big joy out of not spending your money. Number 6, food. You can save a lot of money on food by batching out portions, cooking at home, not getting takeout, not going out to eat as often if you like doing that. Scale it back if you can. Pack a lunch when you go to work. Try buying more beans and lentils and eating those. Great source of protein, very high fiber, very low fat, really good for your health, very cheap to eat, and they're delicious if you season them up the right way too. Great way to save money, great way to grow your health and your wealth. Eat your beans and lentils, kids. And especially the whole idea of batching out your food and like prepping it out. So you make a big batch of soup and you freeze it in like 5 or 10 containers, depending how big your family is. You just take it out, you throw it in the oven or pop it on the stovetop, and then you got food. You don't have to worry about what you're gonna do that time. It saves you a bunch of time in the kitchen, saves you a bunch of money. You'll eat healthier, you'll be happier. And once you get used to it, it's really not so depressing just eating oatmeal for breakfast or eating your lentil soup for lunch. You get a joy out of it. It tastes good and it makes you feel good. You'll notice after a couple of days if you eat healthier food, it really makes a big difference. Number 7, a very popular choice for many of us because we were more or less forced to, but stay at home. Don't go out and drive around. Gas is expensive, even with just $2 a gallon or $4 a gallon. Driving around and going different places. I mean, we live in a society where everywhere you go, it's gonna cost money, no matter what you're doing. They want your money somewhere. I mean, there's exceptions. You go to parks, you go to libraries and things like that, community centers. But for the most part, everywhere you go, there's taxes that has to be paid on that property, and someone is gonna want something from you, either through a donation or a fee. They wanna sell you something. So if you stay at home, you'll save a lot of money. And if you have to go out, make sure you plan ahead and you organize a day for all of your errands. It'll help if you tie it all together. If you look at a map and you take a look at the loop that you have to go through in order to hit up all the places you have to hit up for the products you need. I'm sure you thought about a lot of these things already, folks, but hey, I'm some guy on the internet just trying to help some other people out on the internet. Thanks for listening. Number 8, use credit cards and loans responsibly. This means you don't want to put any cash on your credit cards unless you actually have the money in your account to pay it off before the end of the month. Don't pay off your credit cards at the end of each month and you only look at the minimum monthly payment. You're putting yourself up for a losing strategy where you're going to be shelling out all this cash in the form of interest payments to the credit card companies. If you just keep focusing on your monthly payments and you don't look at your overall balance, your balance will just keep increasing as time goes on. And it puts you in this pit of despair where you feel like you're never going to get out of debt. So use credit cards responsibly. If you make small purchases of things you were already planning on purchasing, and then just use the money you have to pay off that credit card in full each month, you'll slowly grow more and more credit, and then you'll be able to take out maybe a mortgage, and then you can start focusing once again on your savings account or even investing your money so you can have interest working for you instead of against you. Now I understand people have emergencies and they have to use their credit cards for those emergencies, and that's probably a better use for those credit cards is for in case emergencies only. But after that emergency happens, you have to pay off that credit card as soon as possible, otherwise you'll have the interest rate just chipping away at your income. And if you use credit cards irresponsibly, you'll be full of debt, so much debt that you won't have the opportunity to take out more credit card debt in case there's a real emergency. Number 9. This one's real simple. Drink water. Yeah, if you make water into a habit and you drink more water, cut out your sugary beverages, cut out your fruit juices. I mean, your fruit juices aren't as bad as your sugary beverages like your sodas and your fruit punch, your grape drink, and all that sort of thing. If you cut those things out, You'll grow your health a lot more too. You won't have these empty calories you gotta burn off before you start burning off that fat you have to burn off. And if you start drinking water and just appreciating the water for what it is, that flavorless liquid form of goodness that keeps your body hydrated and in good working order, you'll really appreciate how sweet that soda is when you have that one every once in a while. And you won't be drinking that stuff like several times a day. You might only drink it once or twice a week, or you might even stop drinking it altogether because you'll notice how much it spikes up your sugar, how it makes you behave, and the caffeine and all that. But a lot of people spend way too much money on sugary crap, whether it's a beverage or a candy bar or stupid stuff we buy. You go to any gas station in America and you drive around, you stop at a gas station, most of the stuff is high fructose corn syrup and just sugary crap that's not good for you at all. So if you cut out all that sugary crap and you just start drinking water as your primary beverage, you'll notice not only do you save a lot of money, but you'll feel a lot better. After you get over that sugar withdrawal kick, it's a thing. If you stop consuming as much sugar, your body really craves that stuff. But if you step away from the sugar, you'll find that after you get over that feeling of a withdrawal from sugar, it's like a drug, it really is. You'll feel a lot better with having less sugar in your life and drinking more water, just straight water. It's the best thing you can drink. Water's the real adult beverage, kids. Cheers. And boom, number 10. And speaking of sugar as a drug, make your health your top priority. That's the big one for number 10. Because not having health care is expensive. Having health care is expensive. Having bad health is expensive. Having good health is very cheap. Feel good, you look good. Health is wealth. That's the number one thing. You have better health, you can make more money, you can save more money, you can make more time for yourself to enjoy your life. It's so underrated in our society. We'll go to work, get our money, and then we'll use our money so we can buy a gym membership, so we can go to the gym. In theory, I think most of us just buy gym memberships so we don't feel as guilty about not going to the gym. If we cancel our gym membership, we feel like, oh, I'm not healthy, I'm not making good decisions, I should have my gym membership. You can go for walks, you don't need to do all that. If you're working at a job, make sure that you are actually putting in physical labor wherever you can, however you can. Find a reason to do more at your job, physically speaking, so you get more use of your muscles, instead of finding ways to stop doing as much work at your job. Who knows, maybe your employer will actually notice and give you a raise? Okay, probably not, but it's worth a shot, right? And if anything else, it's good for you, to take care of your health. A huge thing for me was quitting the regular use of drinking and recreational drugs. Drinking is really expensive, not just because of how much it costs you per drink, but because of the stupid stuff you do when you're drinking and you're drunk. So I quit drinking all of 2019 and most of 2020. And in that time, it was really good to have that reset button and put my mind in perspective to see how much I was actually spending on going out and dining, how much I was tipping wait staff and servers and bartenders, how I was buying drinks and rounds and food for sometimes complete strangers. I was that guy. I'd like to buy the table the food if I could afford it that day, or if I thought I could afford it. Now that I'm looking at my finances at a more long term, in terms of rates, instead of how much I have month to month, I look at rates of how much my money will grow over time, and I realize I can't afford that if I want to meet that goal of having enough money to retire on. I've got a lot of catching up to do. I owe myself a lot of money, and I have to find more ways to save it and more ways to grow the income. And I hope everyone back at home, I hope that you got something out of this video today, and I hope that you find creative ways to reduce your expenditures and increase your income however you can, and try to live a better, healthier life for yourself. By actually having an emergency fund and a safety net, it's given me a lot of peace of mind. You can't put a price on that. You can't put a price on peace of mind and security. I know that if I am out of work tomorrow, I will be okay for a couple months without any income. Not that I would want to go on without a job for that long, but I know that if times get real tough, I could handle that and I could survive, and that'll be okay. I want to keep working as much as I can. As long as I have the motivation and the energy to work, I want to work as much as I possibly can. Because I want to live a long, full, healthy, happy life. I have a lot of art I want to create. I have a lot that I want to share with the world. And on that note, thanks for watching and listening, everyone. I really appreciate you out there. Thank you again. I got some things I want to do and things I got to accomplish before I lie down and go to sleep forever. All right, I wanted to make this one short, but you know me, blah, 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 blah. And don't forget, every single Sunday I post another video about something to do with circus and flow arts here on my channel. So check out my playlist section, know more about that, and to see if there's anything else in there that might pique your interest. All right, I'm out now, folks. Remember to keep safe, be well, stay humble,